The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of 𝗗𝗘𝗪𝗦.
Accident or injury, call 𝗗𝗘𝗪𝗦. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mace. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason. That is 𝗚𝗘𝗪𝗦. This is the show where we talk movies and TV and music and all things pop culture. Great guest today. It is Julia Duffy, who's one of the stars of the brand new Apple Plus series Palm Royale. In the meantime, Sue, it's noon on a Saturday. It's raining like hell where I am. What about you?
Yeah, same.
So last night I was out super late. We were out super late. Doesn't happen very often.
What were you doing super late?
We were out at the Whiskey on the Sunset Strip.
Oh, yeah. It was Chris Morales had posted some pictures.
Exactly. So we went out to introduce the band 𝗃𝗃𝗪𝗏 for a sold-out show at the Whiskey, which was crazy, actually, being on stage at the Whiskey. I mean, have you ever been on stage at the Whiskey?
I've never been on stage, but I've been to the Whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about it, and like Otis Redding recorded there, and Led Zeppelin played there, and all kinds. So it was really cool to be up there. And then 𝗃𝗃𝗪𝗏, you know the kind of music they play, right?
Motley Crue?
No, yacht rock.
Oh, what's that?
So it's stuff like Ride Like the Wind, and Why Don't We Steal Away? Why don't we steal away? Do you want the whole set?
No.
It's Brandy. She's
I said no.
A fine girl. She's a fine girl. It was great. It was great. I got a little bit hammered with people from work, which is always a little dangerous, but I don't think anybody got into big trouble.
And did you have an Uber take you home?
Of course. Of course. Ubered there, Ubered back. Lots of drinks, lots of gummies, lots of smoke. It was a great night.
What was your drink of choice?
My drink of choice was an old-fashioned.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I went hard.
Wow.
A little old-fashioned, gummy.
Throughout the night, just an old-fashioned?
Probably two old-fashions. As I recall, there were two old-fashions, which is pretty good for me. I'm kind of a lightweight.
Okay.
So were you out training this morning?
No. Not in this weather.
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to bike today, so there's no way in the world I was biking the rain.
So we want to do a little Sue's News. Oh, by the way, on April, I think it's the 19th, Taylor Swift's new album is coming out. Have you heard about this? Okay, so I have an idea. It's stupid, but I trust you're going to go along with me.
Okay.
When the album comes out, I want each of us to listen to it and then give a review of the album on the show. What do you think?
That's fantastic. I will definitely do that.
Now, you're not really a Swiftie, are you?
I like her stuff. I mean, I probably couldn't name a lot of her songs, but no, I think she's cool. I like her.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She's fantastic. So we're going to do a little Sue's News before we get to Julia Duffy. We haven't done this in a while, Sue. I miss it. So what are we going?
Well, speaking of music, what is the most exciting thing that has happened within the last 24 hours?
In music?
Yes.
I have other than 𝗃𝗃𝗪𝗏, I have no other idea. Oh, Beyonce's album came out.
Yes, Cowboy 𝗗𝗘𝗪.
Yeah,
have you listened to any of it?
Listened to the entire album, and I did it yesterday. I think it is amazing. I love Hold'em. What's the opening song?
Texas Hold'em.
And then 16 Carriages is another song that I really like. I think Beyonce is just amazing. The idea that Beyonce would somehow be number one on the country charts is incredible.
It is a masterpiece. You know, she is one of these artists. She's like a chef in the kitchen who takes every ingredient that's in the cabinets, in the pantry and in the refrigerator and makes a meal.
Yeah.
And she has, she's got her Texas roots, she's got her Louisiana roots, she's got her rap roots. She sings opera. She does an Italian aria in one of her songs, in one of the verses. It is so entertaining, so smart. The lyrics are incredible. And I love that, I thought that she was doing a cover of Jolene. She actually
kind of reworked it a little bit.
Reworked it and tailored it to her life.
Yes.
It is insanely great.
I think it's amazing. And I love Beyonce. I got to see her in concert this last fall, and I'll tell you, I saw Taylor Swift, I saw Pink, I see a lot of concerts. Nobody's got as pure a voice as Beyonce. I mean, no backing vocals, no nothing. Her vocals are absolutely on the money through an entire 3-hour show. I love the fact that she's mixed up her genres. Her last album, Renaissance, was a dance album, and she follows it up with a country album. I mean, she is one of the great performers of all time. She's got more Grammy nominations than any artist ever.
Right.
And as has been pointed out, and still hasn't won Best Album
of the Year, which she references in one of her songs.
Does she really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's
great. She's lost to Adele. She's lost to Taylor Swift. She hasn't quite gotten over the top. She will win hers, but maybe this is the one. But
I think this is going to be the one.
Love the fact that she's out there creatively and doing her thing. And I'm just a huge Beyonce fan. And don't piss her off, because then the Beehive comes after you.
Oh yeah, when she in some of her lyrics, she talks about don't piss her off.
Yeah, don't.
And I just the fact that she incorporated rap in country and opera in country. I mean, it was just, who does that? I mean, it was, and it's just amazing. And I love who she teamed up with. I love who she teamed up with. Miley Cyrus and Willie Nelson and Pharrell. And anyway, I can't get enough of it. It was unbelievably great.
Great album. And I'm glad we got to do a little review of it, because I've been listening to the first 2 singles for a while now, because they got released maybe a month ago or 6 weeks ago. That's why it's Texas Hold'em, right?
Yes.
That's the record that single was #1 on the country charts, which is just amazing. I heard somebody joke, I hope all those country music fans don't listen to any of her previous albums.
Well, country, couple of stations, I know one in particular, didn't want to play the song on their station because they said, we're country, we don't play Beyonce. Yeah. And they obviously, I believe they didn't have a clue, but there's talk that it was kind of racially motivated. I don't know.
I believe that.
Yeah.
But good for I'm a huge Beyonce fan. When we went to see the show, she asked everybody to wear sparkly stuff. So I happen to have from the Mandy's a sequin jacket that I wore at the show. I was like all in on it. And you know what that show was? That show was nothing but dancing. I mean, on your feet, dancing the entire night, just put on an amazing show. And the album is really cool. So congratulations to her.
Cool. So I don't know if you heard about this. Did you hear about what Kevin Bacon is doing?
No, but I am 6 degrees away from him.
You are.
Oh yeah, I think I'm closer than 6. I think I'm like maybe 2 degrees.
Regular bacon, turkey bacon. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So what's up with Kevin Bacon?
So the school where they shot Footloose, they tracked him down and asked him if he would come to their final prom. And he said yes. He said, "Yep." Wow. He says, "Thank you guys. Let's dance." So he's going to show up, which I thought was really, really cool. I love when celebrities do stuff like this.
I do too. And yeah, boy, Footloose is... I remember that album. I was a disc jockey during those days when that album came out. And I think there were like 8 #1 hits on that album. It was just hit after hit after hit. It was so good. And no dancing in town. That was, I think John Lithgow maybe played the preacher, the hard ass preacher who didn't want any dancing. That's very cool. As a question, how many degrees are you from Kevin Bacon? Do you know?
Me?
Yeah, you. I'm sure you're pretty close.
I'm like maybe 2 degrees because I'm friendly with Paul Reiser, who was with him who was in the movie Diner with him.
You're right there. I think knowing Cranston gets me to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I think that gets me. So I think I'm pretty close to Kevin Bacon. I haven't thought too much about it, but I think I'm in.
So I was looking up what other celebrities, like cool things that celebrities have done.
Yeah.
And Shaq is a pretty cool guy. He was in a jewelry store and some guy was looking for an engagement ring for his fiancée, and Shaq bought the ring for him.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's amazing.
I know. He said whenever he leaves his house, he wants to do something for somebody.
His reputation is as being the most generous guy in the world, even around the league. Any checks, anything, always buying gifts for people around him or around the Lakers back in the day. That is very cool. You know what I learned from Shaq? The very first thing I learned from him was he knew Twitter before anybody else. So he went on Twitter one day, this thing called Twitter, and there were stories about it, that Shaq went to like a diner and tweeted out, I will buy a piece of pie for whoever comes to this diner. And so somebody was following him on Twitter, showed up at the diner. And I read that story and I thought, this Twitter thing, maybe there's something to this. So I jumped on it. And I remember, as is always the case, I went on it and John Ireland mocked me for it. Ireland was like, this thing will never happen. Nobody's ever going to be on this thing. And sure enough, it becomes like one of the most dominant social media platforms of all time. I was that way, by the way, with a lot of things in Ireland. Like I remember buying SteveMason.com, and it was like 1998, and Ireland saying, this web thing you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be something. It's going to be something. That's why I'm an early adopter. I try to get in early, except on TikTok. I was very late on TikTok, Sue. Are you on the TikTok yet?
I'm not on the TikTok, but I remember domain names when we were doing our radio show in New York. You bought 𝗃𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗪.com. And the only way I can get it is if I bought it back from you.
That's still for sale. I'll give it to you at a bargain.
Oh God, that was so funny.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't want to like disregard when celebrities do things, but there are so many other celebrities that have done amazing things. Like Dwayne Johnson bought some veteran he gave him his truck. His truck was like completely pimped out. He wanted to buy him a Porsche. Porsche wouldn't. There was some sort of like thing where he reached out to Porsche, and Porsche said that they wouldn't do it. So he just gave this guy his really cool, expensive truck. So things like that. So there's this woman who is a single mom who set up a GoFundMe page asking for assistance to keep her home after she lost her husband to COVID. So Kim Kardashian quietly donated $3,000 to the cause. And I'm thinking, well, if I were a gazillionaire, I would have quietly said that I donated $3,000. $3,000?
Yeah,
How could you just give someone $3,000 when you have more money than like a billion people?
I mean, don't look a gift horse, but $3,000 against
Come on.
that net worth is insane. Pony up.
It's like giving someone 50 cents.
You know what it reminds me what I used to do, Sue? And this happens around Christmas time. They've got, little kids do write letters to Santa Claus and they drop them into mailboxes.
Yeah.
And the Postal Service gathers those up. And then you can go to a website and find actual letters and match them up and buy whatever is on their Christmas list.
I've done it.
Yeah, I've done that a few times. It is
very cool.
Gratifying. Yeah. But I never just chipped in on their Christmas gifts. I never said, I'll help you a little bit with those Nike Air Jordans. I actually pitched in for the whole thing, but it's nice to do something, but if you can do more, you do more, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, I'm still trying to figure out how many degrees I am from Kevin Bacon. It's really irritating me right now. But keep going. I'll figure it out.
Okay. So the Minnesota Twins AAA team, the Saints,
okay,
they held a contest, a mascot naming contest. Their mascot is a pig.
Okay. For some
reason. So out of like 2,300 entries, someone came up with Ozempic. Okay.
Oh, that is so funny.
But people wrote in on social media and said that it was insulting, it was disrespectful to people who were overweight. And, their comment was, I guess they have a reputation to do these kind of crazy promotions.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's kind of like, what is it, the bananas, they do kind of goofy stuff. So, they said, look, it was never our intention to be disrespectful. We just thought it was funny. And they were saying that during the season, the pig gains a lot of weight.
Right.
So sometimes, it kind of is true to the fact that they would name it Ozempic.
Exactly.
And then they have to get a younger, slimmer one to kind of take its place. But I just thought it was hysterical, and I think people need to just have a sense of humor.
I'm going to take the other side on this, Sue. We just had this conversation on the show about how Charles Barkley and Oprah and other people have used Mounjaro, which is similar to Ozempic. It's a weight loss drug, as opposed to Ozempic, which is a diabetes drug. I think it's type 2 diabetes, although I think it's being prescribed now for obesity. I don't think there's any reason to be ashamed. And I just said every hacky comic in the world is doing an Ozempic joke right now. And I think the St. Louis, what is their nickname? The Pigs?
The Minnesota, they're the Saints.
The Saints. Yeah, I think the Saints are mocking people who use Ozempic. So it may or may not be for you. But there's no reason to be ashamed if you're dealing with weight issues and you're using Ozempic.
But there's no shade. There's no one's shaming anybody. It's a play on words. It's Ozempic. I mean,
I get that part.
I don't know. I don't care. That's like, people being Bettys of the world being pissed off that there was a show called Ugly Betty. Hey, wait a minute. I'm Betty and I'm not ugly, I don't know. I just think that people need to just loosen up a little bit and not take everything so seriously.
On this one, I absolutely get it. It's a funny play on words, but I absolutely get it.
All right.
I'm not easily offended either. You think I'm easily offended? I'm not easily offended.
No, not at all. Not that you profess it the way you are.
Yeah.
I'm not easily offended.
I'm the least offended person around. Nobody less offended. You can throw me anything and I'm fine.
Okay, except for Ozempic.
Except don't pick on people that are on the Ozempic. I say it because I know people that are on it and they're embarrassed by it. And I'm like, you don't have to be embarrassed by it. They just don't want to make a public pronouncement.
Yeah, but if it's helping you, that's great. You know?
I still can't figure out how many degrees from Kevin Bacon I am.
Well, you mentioned Bryan Cranston, so nothing to do with Bryan Cranston?
Has he ever done a movie with Lawrence Fishburne, Laura Linney, Marcia Gay Harden, Tim Robbins? Can't think of any. There has to be a connection, right?
I would think so.
What's the rule? You just have to know them, or you have to have worked with them, or you have to have met them? What's the rule for 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Oh, I think you have to have a connection to them. Like I have a connection with Paul Reiser, who worked with him. So I never met Kevin Bacon.
It's not as simple as just interviewing him.
Oh, well, did you interview him?
Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
No. Oh, I interviewed 𝗗𝗪𝗙𝗪𝗏.
Well, there you go.
There you go. I'm literally 1 degree, even a half degree, I think.
You're like an even. I think it's like even par. It's like even par.
Just about there. Just about there. Excellent.
Oh, cool. Good work.
All right. So before we jump into the show with Julia, I want to let everybody know that if you are listening on Apple, you're listening on Spotify, please take a second, subscribe to the show. It's really easy. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. A lot of stuff going on there. You can scroll down, leave us any kind of comment. And we are here for you on an almost, I think we're kind of like on a 1 per week schedule right now, Sue.
Right now.
1 show per week. Oh, you want me to surprise you with something?
Of course.
Okay. So we talked about doing this concept of a watch along where we sort of follow a show 1 episode by 1 episode and do a little, 10 or 15 minutes after each episode. So figured out which one we're going to do. It's called Sugar. It stars Colin Farrell. It's coming to Apple Plus. It starts next Friday. He plays it's kind of a modern film noir kind of vibe to it, where he's a guy that goes and finds people who are missing. And the studio executive, his granddaughter goes missing. And so Kevin Bacon, yeah. So that Colin Farrell has to go looking for this granddaughter. And it's supposed to be just great. And I hope we can get Colin Farrell on the show to talk about it.
What are the chances, do you think?
I think pretty good. We're working with the Apple people. I think pretty good.
Do you have any 6 degrees of separation with Colin Farrell?
Had dinner with Colin Farrell.
You did?
I did. Nicest guy in the...
Oh, you interviewed him for, was it Lobster?
Yeah, The Lobster. I did a Q&A with him. Yorgos Lanthimos, the movie The Lobster. He came out to my theaters out in Palm Desert. Weirdly, had dinner with like a lot of star power at that table. It was me. It was me. I'm not including me. It was Bryan Cranston. It was Colin Farrell. And I was just like, that's some serious wattage at that.
Wow.
That was the second biggest table I ever worked at. What's the... The biggest one was I had dinner with Ewan McGregor and Renee Zellweger one time. That was pretty amazing. Which do you think is a bigger table? Renee Zellweger with Ewan McGregor or Colin Farrell with Bryan Cranston?
I would say Ewan McGregor and Bryan Cranston. Yeah.
Yeah. And Colin Farrell, by the way, nicest.
Oh, no, Colin Farrell, not Ewan McGregor. Colin Farrell.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's...
I had breakfast once at a table with Sylvester Stallone.
Really?
Oh, when we were doing the celebrity golf tournament in Seattle. I don't know if it was the year you were there, but yeah, it was just a group of us went out. We were hanging out with Samuel Jackson all the time. We sat and having drinks with him and Josh Charles and Dennis Haysbert. And it's just incredible array of people. But I landed at a table one morning with Sylvester Stallone, and he told us such a funny story. No, it wasn't in Seattle. It was a ski tournament, celebrity ski thing. And I think it was in either Deer Valley or somewhere in New Mexico. Anyway, so he was telling a story how he was standing by the lift and some civilian came over to him and started to pick a fight with him like he was Rocky, And he was saying, I can't tell you how many times I have to convince people that I don't box. I'm not Rocky. I'm not going to fight you. I'm an actor. Leave me alone. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah.
How about, before we go to Julia, how about one more yacht rock song I heard last night? You want to? If you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain. That's yacht rock. That's kind of a classic.
Okay. So is everything wet? Does everything have to do with water?
Because a lot of it does. Yeah. Wasting away again, Margaritaville. Yeah, it's a lot of that.
A lot of liquid.
Exactly. All right, here we go. Our guest today started on Broadway in 1978 in the acclaimed revival of Once in a Lifetime. She was an Emmy nominee for her role on the long-running hit Newhart. She was nominated 7 straight years for Best Supporting Actress. Since then, she's done television like Baby Talk and Designing Women and Shameless, and a personal favorite of mine, Looking. Her current project is the Apple Plus comedy series Palm Royale. Julia Duffy joins us. Julia, it is so great to see you. I'm a huge fan from your Newhart days, and it's great to see you back on screen in Palm Royale. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So it tells the story of Maxine, who's desperate to be accepted at this exclusive club. You are working with just an unbelievable cast. Kristen Wiig and Allison Janney and Ricky Martin and Laura Dern and Carol Burnett.
Burnett.
How did they find you for this role?
It was just a self-tape.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, I had just done a reading of I was supposed to do a film in New York, and we had done a Zoom reading of the script. And on that day that I was doing that, and this self-tape came in, and I said to my husband, oh, okay, it's a society lady. I know what this is. Let's just do it real quick while I've got my setup from the table read I had just finished of the script. And so I did it like really quick. And maybe that's the secret, by the way, of auditions. Just don't think about it too much.
Well, what do they say? Throw it away? Throw that one away?
Yeah, kind of throw it away. I really didn't know anything about it, and I did not have the full script, which had somehow accidentally happened that my agent hadn't attached it to the email. So, and then all of a sudden they wanted to see me in person or have lunch with me. And I said, I'm going to New York tomorrow to do this movie. And so I had lunch with them, and then I went to New York, and then they offered it to me, and then I had to drop out of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because I was just going to ask you, is this the kind of project that no matter what else you're doing,
yes,
drop?
Absolutely. No question. I mean, especially once I read this, I hadn't even read the script yet, but this was a big project. This was 6 months of work, and it had such fantastic people attached. I didn't even know all of who was at that point. So I finally read the whole script and started a couple of weeks later, I guess, a few weeks later.
You know, I love the production design in this show. It's that mid-century candy colored. It's so much detail with the costumes. It must be fun to step into that world.
It was so fun. And what I tell people, because what the hell, you can all Google how old I am. But I was there in 1969. A lot of people on this show weren't present in 1969, but I was, and I worked in a dress shop. And when I walked into the first fitting, I looked at these racks of clothes and I said, I sold these. I used to sell these when I was a teenager to the ladies who came in. And it was all those colors, all that polyester.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind. But I felt almost like I could be the technical advisor because I was there.
You lived it.
I did live it.
So where did you go to find Mary Jones? And I love that it's Mary Jones, David Soul. How hysterical is that?
And I can't solve it for you because I was never told. Abe said he would tell me the deal one day, but of the name, but he never did. So I don't know any more than you do. Why such a strange name? But I think the whole thing was so resonant to me because I was raised in a family of women. My mom was a single mom. I'm one of 4 girls. My mother, her friends, my aunts, I just knew these ladies, though I didn't grow up anywhere near that economic level. But I just knew them. I knew where they'd come from. I knew what they were like. And it was so easy in that way because it was a different kind of femininity from what there is today. It was a whole different thing, what a woman was. And not positive or negative. I'm just saying it was different and I knew what it was.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to watch Saturday nights on CBS. It was Bob Newhart's show, came on right before Carol Burnett's show.
That's right.
And you've had the opportunity to now work with both of them. They are both such legends. Tell me a little bit about Carol Burnett and what she's like on the set.
Well, she's delightful and very present and very funny. I had a scene with her that is coming up that I absolutely loved. And of course, I could hardly contain myself that this was happening, that I was actually doing a scene with her and wondering what my mother would think if she was around. Oh my God, she would be so happy. It almost feels like the most full circle thing that can happen because I was obsessed with her when I was a kid. I would watch the Gary Moore show. And I've told Carol this. And I was a fanatic fan of hers. And when she left the Gary Moore show, I was inconsolable. My mother must have thought I was crazy. But when you're like 10 years old, you're very passionate about these things. And I was. And there I was doing a scene with her. And I was playing somebody who was just as off-kilter as most of the people she plays. And I was, to say the least, off-kilter in this scene. And it was over too quick. It was too wonderful for words.
So what's the vibe with all the women on the show? Like, as far as did you guys hang out a bit before you shot? Did you develop a relationship with all these actresses before you actually got dug into the material?
Well, no, I was really not in town until close to the time I started working, and I came in. I think they'd been shooting for a week or two, maybe, when I first started. So, no, I didn't meet anybody ahead of time except the producers. And then, you gradually start meeting people as it is. And, it was just very natural for all of us. We're all sort of girls, and we like hanging out with women. And it was just very fun. Everybody was in the makeup room. Nobody had their makeup done in their own trailer. It was a very democratic process. And we had a blast. We had an absolute blast.
Can we go back to the whole, I was reading about you, and Wikipedia, I'm assuming some of it can be trusted, but when you were 18, you left Minneapolis and went to New York. And I thought about that. When I was that age, I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to go to New York, and I didn't have the courage to do it. Where did you find the courage to do it?
Oh, I had the courage. You couldn't hold me back. I was 19, but I went to school. It's not like I went and started to make the rounds or something. It wasn't like that. The school was a very nurturing place. Everybody else was in the same boat, except for kids who lived there or lived in New Jersey, but we were from all kinds of places and hadn't lived in New York before. So I don't know. I just became obsessed with the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I thought that had to be it. There were only so many choices that we could afford, like very few. But I decided when I was like 11 that was the school for me. It's not like I knew what I was doing. It's just that's what I thought. I was very passionate. And it worked out great. It was very good training for me. It's a 2-year program, and they were extremely good at introducing you to the world of the pros, because everybody in New York came to see our plays. All the major casting people, directors, very famous actors sometimes, they were really connected. The school was run by 2 people who were elderly. They'd been around a long time. They knew everybody. So it was fantastic for that reason. Now, this is in the days before every college had an acting program of 4 years long, where they would promise you'd meet agents at the end. But there's so many of them now that the agents can't cover them. It was different then.
I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
You did?
Yes, in 1975. I went to 1 year of a regular college, state school in upstate New York, and then I transferred to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And
well, then you know my teachers and who ran the school then.
Well, Gretchen Weiler was my acting teacher. Was she there when you were there?
No, she wasn't.
Okay.
I graduated in 72, I
Okay.
think, something like that. But just shortly before, and it was Francis and Francis were the people who ran the school.
So how much of acting is what you were born with, and how much of it is what you learned at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts?
Oh, well, what you're born with, I don't think can be taught. And then it's very important to find the right training because every actor is different. You can't just assume that a certain type of acting teacher will be good for everyone because it's simply not like that. And if you're lucky, you find the right way. You're the way that's good for you. A lot of it is luck, but it's not like when we're young, we know what's best for us. I think I was just lucky in that way. And it was all we could afford, but it worked out.
And your family was very supportive of you going into a field that is not the easiest to be successful in.
I don't remember anything but support. It was just going to happen. I mean, from the time I was 11. I was 11 actually when I sent for the brochure from the American Academy. Wow. It was that sure.
How'd you even know where to, at 11 years old? How did you find this?
You're not even going to believe how I did. But I read a book, a young adult book. You know those series of books, they're always twins? And it was twin girls. And one of them wanted to go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Wow. And in the book is the scene where she goes and interviews with the head of the school. And I believe the writer may have also met the head of the school because she described him perfectly after I met him. And it sounded perfect to me. It sounded like a very old-fashioned school. I mean, the late 1800s is when it started. It has, quite a history. Really famous people went there back in the day. And so that was just it. I didn't consider anything else.
Wow. So you landed on a classic television series, Newhart, which led to, I believe this is right, 7 straight Emmy nominations?
That's right. I was on it for 7 years. I joined the second year.
And you're working with Bob Newhart. It's a gigantic... What's that part of your career like, the Newhart era of it?
Well, I had done a series right before that for CBS called Wizards and Warriors, which I adored. It was very funny. And CBS didn't renew it because it was very expensive to make. It was set in medieval times, and you can imagine what it cost. And I played a princess. It was hilarious. You know what? It was like The Princess Bride. It was really inspired by that because that was in turnaround constantly. Took a long time till they actually made a movie out of Princess Bride. Yeah. So it inspired this, and it's why it got greenlit. And I love doing it, but they canceled it. But after I had shot it and when it was airing, I did a guest shot on Newhart. And it was very fun, and it was really, the role was opposite Bob. It was just somebody who made Bob very, very uncomfortable. It wasn't really the character as she turned out to be, though her name was Stephanie. And I had been watching him for years. I knew what worked with Bob. I had no doubt how to play the scene and how to make him uncomfortable, how this young 𝗡𝗪𝗙𝗪𝗙, what was that word? This ditzy girl, how she would make him feel and how uncomfortable she would make him feel. So I had a blast auditioning for it, which wasn't with Bob. It was with whoever does it in the room. And so I did the guest shot, and it was great. And then they canceled my show, and then they asked me to be a regular on Newhart. I know. That was pretty great.
That is great.
Yeah.
That is
great.
And
you just have to explain what it was like to go to work every day and work with Bob Newhart.
I will explain it by saying I would sometimes go home and say to my husband, "Don't say anything funny. My stomach hurts from laughing." And sometimes we would drive the directors crazy because all we did was make each other laugh. It was absolutely as wild as you might think. I mean, we had Rickles hanging around sometimes. And sometimes we would just be collapsing in laughter when we should be rehearsing. And Tom would throw his head back laughing, and he'd say, "And we're getting paid," which just cracked me up that he said that. And he would say that occasionally just to bring the reality of it. We're screwing around and laughing all day long. And Mary and I would say, "Oh my God, I have to go put more mascara on." Because we were crying, we were laughing so hard.
Well, there's a story going around. A friend of mine lives in Malibu, not too far from where Johnny Carson lived. And the story is that the first time Bob Newhart went to Johnny Carson's house, because it was massive, he walks in and he looks at Johnny and he said, "Where's the gift shop?"
Oh, oh, does that ever sound like Bob? I have no doubt that it's true.
So this is a weird question. You're working with a cast of unbelievably talented women. Is it harder for a woman to work as an actor than it is for a guy to do it?
Well, there aren't as many roles by far if you look at the statistics. So, yes. And you have so many phases of your life as a woman, depending on how old you are. There are more of those phases than there are with men. So that's different. But I think the thing is, I don't have that many friends in the business, women that are my age, because for a long time, I was an ingenue or a young leading lady, and there would only be one in a cast. It's not like you would ever go into a cast and there'd be a bunch of people your age and your gender. It just didn't happen. With men, it did all the time. They probably got lots of buddies that they'd worked with on shows. Very seldom with women. I just didn't know women my age very much because I would be the ingenue in that. There wouldn't be another one. So it's such a gift to do a show where we've all had that experience. It's a bonding thing. We all know. We don't even have to say it. We know what we've, I don't want to say been through, like it's difficult, because we've all been lucky or we wouldn't be there and shouldn't be complaining about anything. But we know.
Yeah, well, I also think the demographic has changed quite a bit because, I'm going to be 67, and the shows that I want to watch women that are my age and women that I can relate to. And then, you see a show like Hacks and you see the part that Jean Smart is doing. And then even in the reality world, The Golden Bachelor, I mean, it really feels like it's opening the door for people of a certain age, women and men, but especially women, to be able to get these roles.
Well, I think the thing that has changed is, I don't know, this isn't the most fun reason for it to have changed, but now it's not just networks anymore, and it's not dependent on advertisers selling products to people who are still discovering products and don't have their product loyalty yet, and that's younger people. They wouldn't try to sell products to older people very much, and that for years was the business model. It was all about the advertisers. And now it's not about the advertisers because people are streaming. And so you've got a lot of people watching, and all the streamers care about is how many people are subscribing. And that's a lot different than the advertising model. And that has helped be able to have different age groups and shows that appeal to different age groups. And subscriptions cost money, whereas network TV didn't to watch.
Yeah, right.
And people who are older have more money to spend on what they want to see.
Sure.
Right.
I'd love to think it's because the society has grown so much, but I think it's a business model that's helped more than anything else.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But, like I did stand-up comedy for a very long time, and a girlfriend of mine started this show called Funny Women of a Certain Age, and it's women 50 and older. So, there's some of the women that are doing stand-up are 70 years old. And these are women who were pioneers who, started doing stand-up, many, many years ago, like the Elaine Boozler era.
Love her.
And she's selling out she did a couple of Showtime. She did 3 Showtime specials that did very, very well. But her live performance shows, she said that, in the beginning it was older women who were coming, and now it's everybody that's coming. It's all ages. It's young men. It's young women. It's just everybody is coming, and the shows are sold out. And to me, it's just very inspiring that they're attracting every audience.
Yeah, it really is. And also, I think that it feeds on itself. You get an Amy and a Tina, and suddenly you don't have to wonder exactly how far a woman can go and be comedic. It's not unknown territory so much as it used to be. How am I still a woman and feminine and funny at the same time? These role models take away all those questions and make it acceptable, and we're used to it and we see it, and we don't have to feel like, can I be this way when I'm being funny? How wacky can I be? I can't be Phyllis Diller. That wouldn't look good on me. But now we know, we've seen it, and it's become more okay. But it really wasn't for a long time. It was tricky. I would not have known how to be a stand-up comedian, but I always adored stand-up. That is the thing that I probably worship more than anything, is good stand-up.
Who are your favorite comics?
Well, a lot of them are British because we watch a lot of British TV. So I don't mean to be a traitor to my country, but there's just a ton of them that I'm crazy about. Let's see. James Acaster, who is wild and wacky, but he is one of those people who has a completely different take on everything. His rhythm is not like any other comedian's rhythm, and the way he commits is fascinating to me. Gary Goldman, I absolutely adore. Paula Poundstone, who's just always been Paula, and it works so well. I don't know how she just found it and stuck with it, and it's been perfect all this time. There are so many. I really admire it.
So we're all binging 𝗡𝗪𝗏 right now. What are you watching? What is Julia Duffy binge watching?
Oh, let's see. What have I binged? I should have thought of this ahead of time, because that's all we do is binge. I have to think about this. Try to think of something, an American show. We just watch. It's ridiculous how much British stuff.
Are you like watching BritBox and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Crime. I love the crime shows.
Yeah, we're real fans of the murders, I have to say. There's just something about, you see great acting on it. And then also you have this other thing to do, which is to try to solve it. And shows like Line of Duty they raise it to a level it's never been raised before. I don't have a bulletin board with the red strings, but I don't know. I could probably use
more.
No. And then, but there are shows. That White Lotus, I loved.
Oh, yeah.
That's a show. You could do a dissertation on that theme.
Yes.
It was so
there's a theme that's similar in 𝗡𝗪𝗏, isn't there? It feels like 𝗡𝗪𝗏 and White Lotus are similar in that certain way. There's a wealth and a class sort of distinction that exists, I think, in your show and in White Lotus. You get what I'm saying?
I do get what you're saying. In both cases, you have a certain group of people who are clueless about what's actually going on in the world. And the thing that's interesting to me about 𝗡𝗪𝗏 is that you have this character of Laura Dern, who is wanting to change society. And it is 1969, and it's a time of huge change in the way things are. And then you have this group of women who don't want anything to change at all. And it's been this way for a long time, and it's served them well. And then you have Kristen's character coming in and desperately wanting to get into the society that Laura's character wants to move beyond. And that in itself is so interesting. And Laura doesn't get why she wants it. And Kristen doesn't get why wouldn't anybody want it? It looks so fabulous to her.
Well,
And then you have the power person in a coma, so there's a power void, a power vacuum at the moment.
right. Yeah, we still, I'm 3 episodes in, and I don't think Carol Burnett's not awake yet,
Not yet.
but I can't wait.
You can't even imagine. There are things that are going to happen. There is a cliffhanger in the finale that you can try to guess, but you won't guess.
Oh,
what's
wow.
going to happen.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Julia, it is so much fun having you on the show. Such a big fan. 𝗗𝗪𝗪𝗏 is fantastic. And I like I said, we're hanging on every episode. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you for getting through all the tech with me.
Oh, that's all right. We've had tougher tech situations than
Really?
that, believe it or not.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Julia.
Okay, you two were delightful. Thank you so much.
And there you have it. There is the Culture Pop Podcast. Julia Duffy. Delightful. It is a delightful series, although I get the impression something, especially from that interview, something bad may be coming.
Something dark is lurking. It's got to be.
Yeah,
We're going to find out. Or maybe we're going to find out something very secretive about somebody. There's going to be a lot of duplicity, I have a feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
That Allison Janney character is up to no good at all times. And I'm excited to see Carol Burnett out of her coma.
Yes. And I'm wondering what's going on with Laura Dern, because did you see the 3 episodes already?
I have. Yeah.
The Rolodex,
Yeah, the Rolodex. The Rolodex, that secret Rolodex with every single potential guest for a big party.
Seemed like her character is turning a little bit because, she didn't come off that way,
Yep. What a great cast. What a great cast. All right, there you have it. There is today's Culture Pop Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and all that stuff. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time on the Culture Pop Podcast.